I have found a fantastic show, and y'all are gonna laugh at me because this show is on season 2 already, so a lot of you may already be into it. I know the show got a lot of praise when it came out, but I am just now getting to it, and I will explain to you why in a moment. But I have started watching The Boys, which is an Amazon original series. If you're not familiar with it, it is about superheroes, and it is in season 2 now. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, season 2 and how that's going so far. But I'll get you up to speed with my thoughts on the series as a whole as quickly as I can. I know I'm a bit long-winded, so whatever, ignore that. But it's actually funny. When this series came out, I saw the trailers for it. I didn't do a lot of research into the trailers, but I was familiar with everything going on around the release of the show. And quite frankly, even to this day, I'm not a big fan of the way that they market this show. I guess it kind of makes sense, but I'm going to be honest, the marketing really turned me off to this show quite early. Basically, the trailers came out, and I felt like, I know that it's about a comic book. The series is based around a comic book. I'm not familiar with the comic book. I know, I'm sure that's lame. Like, I should definitely know about the comic book, whatever. But I wasn't familiar with it. And the trailers were so cartoony. They were so angsty, and they felt gimmicky. It felt like it was a very gimmicky show. And the show does have some gimmicks to it, but in the trailers, that seemed like all it was. And I got kind of turned off by it. I just found the trailers kind of annoying. And coming off of a lot of the superhero things that we've been getting bombarded with in media, with all the Disney, Avengers, Marvel stuff, and then all the hits and misses, and mostly misses, that DC has been putting out, I really was just like, oh, something superhero, whatever, don't care. And I pushed it aside. Did not watch season 1 when it came out. I know. Sue me. So the way I discovered this show and came to see the light, basically just a couple weeks ago, there's a lot of promotion going on for The Boys season 2, which I have pretty much ignored because it started, I think they're on episode like 6 now. So it's probably been out for like 6 weeks. I've ignored all the promotion for season 2. But what I ended up doing was me and my girlfriend were just kind of scrolling through all the streaming services looking for something to watch. And I came across The Boys because season 2 was being promoted heavily. And I thought to myself, I've heard a lot of people I respect hailing this show, talking about how great it is. And we were just having, honestly, so much trouble finding something to watch, as you know how it goes, especially with coronavirus. Not a lot's coming out outside of TV shows and streaming service types of things. So we basically, I kind of scrolled over it and I was like, it was almost like a joke. I was like, I've heard a lot of good things about this. I don't think I'm going to like it, but let's just give it a shot. And if we don't like it, we'll just turn it off in like 10 minutes, right? No big deal. So we turned on The Boys season 1, and I am happy to say this is where I show one of my great character qualities, in that I can admit when I'm wrong or when I misjudge something, and I can change my opinion because I'm not sticking to my guns from my original thoughts on this series. I mean, I stick to the fact that I do believe that I'm not a big fan of the way that it was marketed. The original trailers for it and the gimmicks that they tried to push for the show, but I watched like 1 episode of this show and I was hooked. I was literally so into it. I haven't seen, it's not even just like the show's good. The show is really good at like holding your attention. And these are like hour-long episodes. And honestly, even some of the best shows don't always just hold my attention. I kind of have to focus. I have to pay attention. It's easy to drift off. And I don't really like to binge. I know a lot of people do, like, will binge a lot of these big shows, but even the big shows that come out, I'm not a big binger. I have trouble even finishing movies in one sitting sometimes. I can usually just watch 1 episode and move on with my life and just return to it the next night. But this one is the first show that I've felt the need to binge in quite a while. Like, I can watch like 3 to 4 episodes of this show back to back to back. And so the first thing I want to talk about is how fantastic this show is at keeping your attention, keeping things exciting and I mean, it was just that first season rips, dude. Like that's all I can say. It rips, bro. But yeah, so the first season is fantastic. It's not fantastic though because of just like the original pitch, because of the gimmicks that I mentioned. The main kind of theme here is that in this world of The Boys, superheroes are all over the place, but they're not like great people. They're not like all Superman like they're supposed to be in the movies. The real catch here is that some of them are just downright awful. They're jerks. They're pieces of crap. And just like what would happen in America if superheroes were real, these superheroes have been commoditized. They've been turned into these cultural icons, but also just like there's toys of them, there's movies, there's whole franchises all based around these heroes. And there's this one company called Vought who just pulls that money in and pretty much turns everything about being a superhero into a business. So much so that it's not really about saving people or being a superhero anymore. And that is a really cool aspect of the show. It's really well done. It's a well executed concept, which is one of the most important things to me is having the concept be well executed. It's not that the concept is just good on its own. It's solid, but it's so well executed. But that's not even really just the show's main strength to me. What really surprised me about the show was that it's very nuanced. It's very subversive and nuanced, but it's not subversive in the way that it's just like, we're just going to do things that you don't expect. It really makes a lot of sense, and it's very rewarding. So, yeah, it's the show is a banger. Like the first season specifically is just, it's a heater that doesn't stop rolling until it's over, until the first season finishes. Like I got to the last episode of the first season. I was like, what? I'm already here. And I mean, it's only like 8 episodes, I think, but you know how it goes. I mean, I was into this, and I'm not a binger. That's the thing you have to know. I'm not a person that gets hooked on shows. So to get hooked on a show and really want to just watch it and move through it, it says a lot about the show, at least in my opinion. So take that opinion with a grain of salt, but there it is. But yeah, so what makes this show so cool to me though is that it's very nuanced in that it really gives a lot of life and thought and fairness to pretty much all of its characters. And there's some nasty, awful characters. And I'm not saying it humanizes the worst, most evil characters in the way that some other properties could, or in the way that it could. But it just does such a great job of like kind of mixing all these different ideas together to reveal a lot of truths about our society that I think are really interesting. I'm not a big fan often of, especially like current pop culture deconstructions of like toxic elements of US culture, but I think this show does it so well. And that's really why I want to applaud it and talk about it, is because The Boys is so like, it feels really mature. I think that's what it is. It feels like a really mature, nuanced, subversive take on US culture. And it kind of deconstructs a lot of the way that we do things and the way that business works, the way that we handle religions and all sorts of elements. It's not just about superheroes. I guess that's the thing. It's not like just about like, oh, we got bad superheroes because if this was real life, superheroes would be jerks. It's not like that. And I think that's why it shines, because if the show was what I originally thought it was, which was what the trailer seemed to be giving me, which it's unfair of me to just judge it totally based on the trailer like that, but that's what it seemed to be giving me. And it's just not like that. There's so much nuance to it. It's really fair to a lot of the characters and a lot of the points of view on the show. And I think it's well worth a watch. So that's kind of how I caught up to season 2. But obviously, like I said, there's only 8 episodes of season 1. So I was back into season 2 and I am fully caught up on the show as of this week, since the season is still airing. And I wanted to kind of talk about my thoughts on the second season. And now I'm still enjoying this season. So I don't want to like paint it like I'm not enjoying it, but one of the first things that I noticed when season 2 started was that it kind of started off a little rocky. I don't know. Does anyone else feel that way? Like, is that just me? I finished season one, and it kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and I came in like, all right, let's know what happened. And the first episode was all right, but it kind of meandered. It felt like the first like 2 or 3 episodes sort of meandered. And if you're familiar with the show, this isn't really a big spoiler, but if you're familiar, you know what I'm talking about. There's this character called the Deep, and he's like the Aquaman caricature from this superhero gang, and he's a real piece of crap, dude. Like, I mean, the thing is, he's not likable at all, and he's not meant to be, so I'm not like complaining about that, but he's a really hateable character, and I think they did really useful things with the character in season 1 and kind of bringing him low and kind of beating him, like good guys got him, he's like out. But he's still a part of the series for some reason. And he's got this kind of subplot that exists away from the main cast while the main cast is doing what they're doing. And like season 1 kind of spent some time on it, but season 2, one of my main complaints, this isn't a massive complaint. It's not like this is a big problem, but why are we spending time with this character? This guy is a douchebag. I'm not interested in him. And it's not because he's like not a good character, like not a good guy that I don't like him. He's annoying. He's pathetic. He's a little weasel. And it's like very clear that that's what they want him to be. But I'm like, I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with him, because frankly, right now, I'm just like, why are you here? They keep like flashing over to him where he's like doing things in another town as a superhero. And he's still a piece of crap. He's not becoming interesting. He's not becoming a good guy. He's not like, he's got this arc that's just like goofy. Every time he's in the scene, he's like goofy. And it's not like this isn't a knock on the actor or anything or the show. It's just like, I feel like it's a bit of a pitfall right now on season 2 in that, like, why are we spending time with him? But I'm going to hold the verdict on that out for the rest of the season, because my only, the saving grace of his character for me is that if they bring him back into the series in a meaningful way, or back as a main character, or he has like an arc that intersects with the main cast and the good guys, or at least like the protagonists, if he intersects with them in a meaningful and really, what's the word? Rewarding. In a really rewarding way, I think I'll be happy with it. And I'll be okay that we spent some time with him like this. But right now, it's like we'll be doing something really interesting, following characters that I love. Like the series is really interesting and exciting all the time. And then it just flashes over to this guy, the Deep. He's just like, oh, I'm Aquaman, and I'm annoying. I'm a douchebag. I'm a weasel. And like, I'm kind of pathetic to watch. I'm not the best actor. I mean, the actor does a fine job with the character. I hate to I don't want to knock on the acting itself, but like, I'm just not interested. I'm not interested, and I don't really feel like anyone else is. Am I alone in that? I don't know. You let me know. Comment below. But yeah, so those are kind of my thoughts on season 2. It started off a little bit slower than I expected, and that kind of stinks. But that being said, we're back up to like episode 5 or 6 now, and it has gotten better. It is very interesting, and it's a strong season, but I will say it was a little bit of a slower start, and it is not hitting quite as hard as season 1 did. So, not a major knock. I'm still enjoying the series, and I'm going to continue to watch it. Obviously, I still recommend it. It's well worth a watch, but if I'm being critical, which is kind of my job here, at least to think about it in this analytical way. And since I'm just spitballing here on the podcast, those are kind of my thoughts on where it's at right now. So anyway, spent plenty of time on that. I'm a rambler. I'm sorry. Don't care. I don't care. Sorry. I don't care.